Welcome in everybody to a late night edition of the Reef Podcast. I'm your host LuisIpa, joined by Kratos here. Kratos, it's been a while since we had an episode here.
No, man, I know.
Man, I'm excited for this one though. Guys, we're actually interviewing an indie game developer here. We just love interviewing game developers all around. As you know, Gamescom happened today, and I wanted to announce real quick that we are live on Twitch, YouTube, and the mysterious platform that's going to be revealed in a little bit by my co-host Nightmare. Go ahead and announce where we at now.
Yes, we are also live on Kick.
Absolutely, guys. We have made it to Kick as the third platform that we're going to be live on. Please give a round of applause to Nathan here. Nathan, so good to see you here, man.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. And on the kickoff of your Kick launch, so that's pretty sweet.
Man, absolutely. We're excited to have you here because I know you have this games coming out. You have two titles, right? If I'm not mistaken.
That's right. Yeah, we have Wildlands of Fenora and The Hunters of Fenora, both pixel art tactics, roguelite RPGs. So it's a pretty unique but fun mix.
Awesome. So if you wouldn't mind, giving the viewers and listeners out there a little bit background about yourself, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So for anyone who's loved kind of classic pixel art RPGs, then they'll immediately know what we're looking to accomplish with the Fenora series. Basically, ever since I was a kid growing up, I loved games like Final Fantasy Tactics. There was a super obscure strategy RPG game out of Japan called Ogre Battle that was kind of a mix of Warcraft or Command and Conquer and turn-based battles like you'd see in Final Fantasy Tactics. That was my jam growing up, and so got super into that for a while. For a while, as in ever since then, and wanted to create it in our own studio. For me, I didn't come at this from a game developer background. My background's actually corporate law. I did that for a number of years in private practice, and then found my way into game development and creating our own studio through a different way. As I got involved in blockchain, so I was the head of legal for one of the first regulated blockchain cryptocurrency exchanges in Canada way back in 2017. So I got to understand the technology there, loving video games my whole life and being in the entertainment industry. I'm also an actor. About 3 years ago, I was looking at why are all of these quote unquote blockchain games coming out but actually sucking, and I wouldn't want to play a single one of them. There's something wrong. So what would happen if we'd start 2TG and just make games that we would love to play and add in optional blockchain elements to the extent that it makes the game more fun, and let people try it out? And if they like it, then great. If they don't like the blockchain stuff, then we're still making the games that like we love and love to play as kids. So it was a win-win in my mind, and that basically led from one iteration to the next to now we have two games in development, and we've had more than 10,000 people play the alpha demo, and they've been really loving it. And so, yeah, I'm super pumped to be here and pumped for us to kind of continue to build on what we've been doing.
Man, that's awesome. I'm so glad that that they have developers like yourself, and we have interviewed a couple of handful indie game developers here on the Reef Podcast. And I tell you, man, it's always the small little companies that actually devote everything to the fans. I mean, don't get me wrong, three star the big companies out there, they still listen to fans. But I mean, they're still kind of in the fence, divided. Oh, let's favor the ones that have the huge content creation and not favor as much as the little ones. While you guys, indie game developers, listen to everybody for feedback, which is amazing. So I praise all the indie game developers out there always.
Yeah, that was one thing for us that was super important. I realized early on, if I was just making the game for me, it would just be the most expensive video game I've ever paid for, but it's not going to be the best game that it could be. And so that's why we did like 3 phases of this alpha demo to get it in as many people's hands as possible so they could try it out, tell us what they loved and what we could do better. And it really has been kind of a building in public and trying to build community out of it too, because no one knows who 2TG is. They don't, Fenora isn't Final Fantasy. It doesn't come with that brand name yet. I mean, you know, who knows what happens in the future. But for now, what we're doing is we're building this to just be able to get the best game we can within this genre, within this type of game that players like to play.
Absolutely. I also want to give a massive shout out to the Frozen Box, because if it wasn't for the Frozen Box mentioning 2TG Entertainment here, we wouldn't have thought about looking you guys up. So if you're watching this, Frozen Box, shout out to you, my friend, for what you did. You're incredible for that.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Happy to be here.
All right.
Need to hook Frozen Box up with something.
maybe like the game itself. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll be in touch. We'll be in touch.
Absolutely. All right. So you mentioned that your background was in law and everything, right? Corporate law. So what came with the idea with the 2TG? I know sometimes you have Treyarch, you have Activision, all this stuff, but what is the background, info on how 2TG came to be?
Yeah, so as a name, 2TG stands for To the Grave. So all of our games, so it's To the Grave, the Wildlands of Fenora, To the Grave, the Hunters of Fenora. That's kind of the moniker associated with all these games. And really the idea came from, how do I take those game experiences that I loved as a kid and put them in a modernized gameplay loop that still feels true to the original elements of it. So playing Final Fantasy Tactics, I loved being able to get engrossed in the story and build out my characters, have this deep character customization, a really strategic gameplay model. So how can we take that and how can we use that in a modern time where I have kids? I don't have that much time to sit down and play for 4 hours on end, but if I can do this roguelite tactics RPG gameplay loop that we made, that's really, you can easily sit down and have a good time in 5, 10, 20 minute sprints. If that's just what you got to do, then it's there, right? You can do that. Now we've found people who started playing and they're like, I was just going to stream for an hour just to test it out, and my stream lasted 5 hours. And so that's always great. That's positive feedback about what we've been doing. But it's really been trying to marry those old school experiences with the modern gameplay, and just something that's going to keep you engaged and keep you coming back for more.
Now, let me ask you this. I know, you guys have 2 games coming out. I know you're still in the alpha stages and everything like that, but if it's really, really that popular and people still enjoy it to this day, like modern days, would you consider doing DLC expansions for the game or anything like that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And so the 2 games that we have, Wildlands of Fenora and Hunters of Fenora, they're basically, they were originally one. We originally thought we're going to do this story mode, Wildlands of Fenora, that we have on Steam, and then we can do a version of it that has a little gauntlet mode. And the gauntlet mode is where we'd have the Web3 side of things.
Absolutely.
As we started getting feedback on that, as we started having people play the Web3 side, there was a lot of excitement all around, which was really encouraging for us. But the Web3 side, we found that there was a lot more that we could do to make that deeper and more engaging. So that has really shifted to become what we expect to be a longer term live service type model that has a high stakes, high reward competition element to it, but it's really still tied into those same types of gameplay focuses on character building, strategic battles, and finding the best loot you can, that type of thing. And then for Wildlands, for the story version of it, the story kind of sister title that has no blockchain whatsoever, that we can go all in on making that the most engrossing and entertaining story that it has. And for that one, yeah, we expect to do an early access version of that with 1 chapter, and we have 4 chapters of story planned out for that entire scope. So we have a lot that we're excited for.
That's amazing. Nightmare, you had a question over here?
We have a couple questions from our live chat on Twitch. Frozen Box, who is watching, said, before Fenoraverse, did you create something else to learn development?
I have the benefit of having brought on a team that has worked on phenomenal games. So our head of game developments worked on Age of Empires 4, Company of Heroes, lots of AAA game experience there. We have across the team people who've just been involved in Apex Legends, in Warhammer games, Max Payne, just a whole depth of experience on the team. So it's helpful because I have no game development experience myself, but I have an insane amount of nerdy passion for the RPG games that I loved as a kid. As a kid, I would pour through strategy guides and like player created strategy guides and FAQs and all of that. So I interestingly was able to use that to build the basis for the game design itself, and then work with these fantastic developers that I've been able to bring on as part of the team to make sure that how it's being implemented is being done in a right way. Because if it was just me, we'd never get the game as good as it is now. What I had in mind when I started was not at all the level of polish and depth and experience that we have. So it's been fantastic for us to just build out the team with people who are passionate about it, where everyone brings their own talent and their own ideas around how we can make this the best it can from various aspects.
That's amazing, man. I mean, as soon as you mentioned, I love that you brought somebody for an Age of Empires. I was like, okay, that's it. I'm getting this game day one. Like, just not only that, but the whole Final Fantasy Tactics, because I'm a big Final Fantasy player, and seeing that Tactics was getting I guess like it's called a remake, I guess. I was like, what is there gonna be something that's gonna be matching that? And then you guys came up, and I saw y'all trailer, which we're gonna show here at the middle of the podcast when we go to commercial break. My goodness, dude, I fell in love because I played, like my co-host, I played RuneScape, and I still play till this day.
Yeah.
So games like that is what makes me so much interested in them, because you're basically designing your own character from scratch. Like, it's you that you're making yourself. And games like that are always fun to play, man. And I praise you guys for that, man.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and that's exactly the perspective that we had coming into it. And I loved the pixel art of Final Fantasy Tactics. And so again, trying to modernize that, take something that's familiar to people who don't know anything about 2TG, but when they see it, they see, okay, I know that type of game, and so that's at least, it's worth my while to at least look a little bit more into it. And then that gets them, okay, well, let's try it out. Try it on Steam, try the alpha demo and just play it and see what you like, and be part of the community that's shaping the future of it.
All right. So, Nightmare, you had another question for you or from the community?
One more from the community. Thanatos13 Official says, what do you use to make sprites?
So we have, just in terms of the program, I imagine that's the question. We use Asprite a lot. So we have now 3 pixel artists that are working with us. And we just brought on our lead pixel artist. Well, I say just, but she's been now with us for like 8 months. And as between the alpha demo and what we're going to have for the beta and early access releases, it's wild. There's a huge UI redesign that we're doing across the whole thing. And it's pretty incredible. But really, it's just talented artists using basic pixel art tools. And they're just, again, we've been so lucky to have such incredible talent to join the project and make it something that's as beautiful and unique as it is.
Now, here's a big question. I know this may sound silly, but are you guys looking for potential tryouts for voice actors?
That's interesting that you would ask that. We are entertainment focused, so I would always welcome anyone who has any thoughts on that and to send us stuff, because as things come up, we're always looking at, okay, now we're looking at voice acting for this thing or whatever it is, and having a kind of a resource hub of that. If people have sent us stuff, I'll always be taking a look at it.
Okay, the reason why I say that is because over here, me and my buddy love to do different voices, so we always willing to, like, share our voice if you want us to do like a small little, like, a segment or narrating a certain part. I mean, I'll try out. I wouldn't mind trying out for it.
Sweet. Yeah. No, we'll definitely we'll stay in touch on that for sure.
All right. So, Nightmare, a question from you yourself.
Yes. So you mentioned the main focus, the RPGs and stuff. Is there one or two games that strongly threw you in the direction for Fenora, or more than two, possibly?
Yeah, that's a great question. So originally we did a proof of concept demo for a game that we call To the Grave, the Battle for Fenora, and that was really to do let's call it a spiritual successor to Ogre Battle 64. Again, it was a not very well known Nintendo 64 game as a sequel to the Super Nintendo game that was, again, not very well known, but a really cool gameplay loop that I loved, with combining real-time strategy and turn-based battles and a lot of character customization. So I selfishly thought, hey, there's a bunch of really terrible blockchain games being made. I can probably go out and raise a bunch of money to make the type of game that I would love to make. And worst case scenario, it's, hey, we got this game that we love to make. And then what I found is that whenever we did the proof of concept and spent 6 months putting that together, and it was like a 30-minute demo. And when people started playing, they're like, hey, this is great. When's it coming out? And we're like, oh, well, it's going to take a couple $1 million and probably 3 years to actually make that the game that we would want to make it. And as I'm talking to investors in this space, they're not super thrilled with my idea of, no, wait, I want to make a game first that people love and then introduce blockchain features optionally that make the game better. They're like, well, no, you make money quickly by selling a token and then get hype around it and that type of thing. I'm like, no, wait, what we're doing is we're actually focusing on making a great game. And then there was incompatibility there. And so that is how we started all of this. I went back to the drawing board and thought, well, what can we do on a budget that's something we can bootstrap to build out something within 6 months that we can put in people's hands so they can start playing it and giving us feedback if we're on the right track. And that's how I came up with this kind of Final Fantasy Tactics meets Slay the Spire roguelike tactics RPG game loop that can have a lot of replayability without the insane development cost, with something that I had more ambitious planned in the beginning.
Wow. I learn more about game developers every time I actually talk to an indie game developer or a regular developer. Every time I talk to somebody, my gosh, you learn so much, like, from what's behind the scenes. And some people think, like, that it's easy to do game development when it's tough. It really is. I mean, you have a lot to think about. Like you say, a drawing board, you have to come up with ideas, come up with, like, who's going to do what. There's a lot that goes behind the game developing, and some people don't understand that it's a lot of hard work. But the good thing is that once you finish doing that big project that you worked on and you launch it, you feel such a big satisfaction that you launch that, and people, especially when people start enjoying it, because we already have somebody in our listeners that literally said that they already wishlist the game. So shout out to Thanatos for wishlisting the game. So amazing for you to do that.
Yeah, and that's super encouraging, right? As we're getting this out there, and it's a ton of work, and it's a ton of, especially for indie devs where you're bootstrapping the whole thing. For someone like me, where I need to bring on people who can do the best, who can do the development work, because it's not, I can't do the coding. That's not my skill set. It's a lot of people coming together. So getting the wish lists, we have more than 17,000 wish lists on Steam, and we haven't done any real paid marketing for it. It's just been people playing the demo, sharing it, streaming it, and stuff like that. It's super encouraging. It definitely gets us pumped to keep going. So if anyone's listening, please go to Steam and wishlist it and try it out, right?
The good thing is that since we actually have it live on YouTube as well, on YouTube's description, I actually posted the Steam wish list, so that way, people can go definitely check you guys out.
So, yeah, absolutely.
But we have a couple more questions coming in from the community too, from what I see, Nightmare. So we have 3 of them.
Yes. The first question from Mockart Gaming. What's been the biggest problem that you've come across developing the game?
The biggest problem, I think, is refining the scope. I have a list of 30 plus different features that I would love for us to include. And there's no way that we don't need all of it. And it's refining the scope to what is that list of elements that are absolute must-haves for us to put in place and ship it out, so that we can continue that feedback loop in a meaningful way, and how to balance that out in the best way. Because we're still building in public, and with the beta that we're doing with Hunters of Fenora coming up, that's still the idea behind that, is still to build in public, get people playing it, have them give feedback as we're going to continue to build out and refine it. So prioritizing that, I think is always a challenge, because there's no right or wrong. It's just, hey, what's the feedback that we're getting as a team, and as the kind of founder and visionary behind this, what do I want to see that I believe is core to the experience, and being laser focused on that, so that we can get it out and get people playing it. The more people play it, the more opportunities we'll have in the future.
Okay, the next question I'm actually going to ask it myself, Nightmare, because this is actually amazing to hear. So Thanatos here says, Fenora anime, when?
I will just say, if you take a look at our Twitter, we have teased something there. And as 2TG as a company, it's 2TG Entertainment. I'm an actor as well. I've been involved in the film industry. Our future goals are certainly not limited to games, but we are laser focused on making the game the best it can be.
That would be pretty awesome if you have a CGI anime cutscenes or something when you play the story of the game, and then they have
we got ideas. We got ideas. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, and the last question, Nightmare.
The last question from True Munster. What's the time frame of the whole development of a video game?
Oh, that is a great question. And the answer is so not satisfying, because it depends. Right? It depends on the scope of the game that you're doing. I mean, you look at Rockstar's development timelines for the Grand Theft Auto, it's completely insane. If you look at something that is your typical development timelines are anything less than 2 years is very, very fast. And from an indie perspective, and part of the reason that we made the game that we did, I mean, we got our initial alpha demo out where people were playing it for 10 plus hours in about 10 months. And since then, the amount of time that we've spent on refining and building out systems that are more robust to handle a much broader experience that we were planning on, that's taken a lot more time. I think we've done it in the right way because we've used that to make sure that we're focused on the right things. But it's a long timeline, and it depends on your people. It depends on your budget. Stardew Valley, one guy did that, but took him many years until he got that one out, and he spent many years continuing to build on it. A huge success. I mean, that's phenomenal. So it's not like you necessarily need a huge team to be able to do huge things, but it certainly makes it a lot easier to move to get things done more quickly. And in my case, I don't have that skill set, so I couldn't do what we're doing without the incredible team that I've been able to put together to continue to work on and build this.
All right, so we got another question came in from the community, and after that, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna be doing the premiere of both games coming up. So Nightmare, get the last question.
Okay, last question is Kevo X13 says, will it always be a turn-based RPG, or may it evolve into a bigger AAA game format?
Oh, you know what? I love that question because it's already so optimistic, right? I love that because it's like, hey, where can we go from here? And I mean, the sky's the limit in terms of the Fenoraverse universe that we're building out. We see this as a multi-game, multi-entertainment experience universe. For that, the sky's the limit. In terms of what we're doing with Wildlands of Fenora and Hunters of Fenora, we are laser focused on making those the best pixel art, roguelite, tactics, turn-based RPGs that they can be. And so to deviate from that, I think would be deviating from the core of the game design that makes those experiences great so far, and of what we see those having really sustaining value as a video game themselves. But we have, as I've alluded to, really broad and exciting plans for other things that we can do, assuming we can nail it with these games.
All right. Thank you so much, community, for the questions. We are actually about to dive in these trailers. So without further ado, I want to thank again 2TG Entertainment for being part of the first half of the podcast. So guys, brace yourselves. These trailers are amazing. Shout out for 2TG for providing them. So I hope you guys enjoy, and we'll be back after both trailers. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you want to explain to us a little bit of both, what the difference between both is, because some people probably questioning it because they look similar. I mean, I probably made a mistake. I apologize. I mean, was it like that, or I don't know if it was the right one or not. So
No, those were right. So it is these. Um, it started out where we were planning to do just kind of the hunters as a specific mode within Wildlands itself. So the core game systems, the core art, all of that is being shared between both games, but the experience itself is very different. So Wildlands of Fenora, that's the Steam game. That is a single player, offline, your classic vanilla video game experience. It's story driven, and you're playing it to advance the story, build your characters within that, but it's all kind of contained in what you would typically expect. Hunters of Fenora is the spun-off version that is blockchain enabled. It's live service, so this is an online only, because it involves a high stakes, high rewards game economy that we've built, where you own the hunter characters that you have, so you can customize them, and they are NFT characters that are representing the game characters in game. And so, you guys mentioned that you're into RuneScape, and so the same way that you'd sell characters or sell weapons, this is basically taking that to the next level, where people can go out and trade that outside of the game, and everything that you're doing in the game with those characters, whether you're changing them, leveling them up, getting new stats, new equipment, that's going to be reflected on that itself. And so we've built that to effectively have a really unique competition between players there. So you're going on these roguelite hunts, and it's based on how many beasts you kill. You get on a leaderboard, and then you're sharing in rewards, and you can get better loot, better characters, and everything based on that. So that one is more focused on building out and showcasing how blockchain can actually be used from a game design perspective to add more depth to the whole game loop, because now you're adding resource scarcity and ownership on top of all the other levels that are kind of shared between the two games.
So I know this may sound like a silly question, but I do have to ask. You probably can more than likely customize the name of your characters, right? Like, you don't have to worry about having a default name.
You can absolutely customize the names of your characters.
I know what I'm naming my character, but definitely one thing I wanted to address. So it's gonna be on Steam, correct? Is there gonna be future consoles that are gonna be part of it too, or?
Man, that's such a great question, because we've gotten so much feedback from people who are like, "Oh, I'd just love to play this on Switch," and even talking to different publishers, we've gotten a lot of really strong feedback about how these would perform on consoles. So the short answer is, we expect to do the early access of Wildlands on Steam, and then absolutely we'll be looking at console releases, and basically for as many people to be able to play it wherever or however they want to play it. We've been developing it with that in mind from the ground up, so the porting experience for us won't be as difficult as if it was an afterthought.
Just imagine being on the some of the viewers are saying over here in the chat, saying that just having it on the Switch would be perfect, because you can literally just go on the go, and even on mobile device, if you later have a mobile version of it, definitely perfect.
Totally. Yeah, 100%.
All right, Nightmare, what you got, man?
So we're talking Steam, we're talking consoles. Is there anything else that you're looking for, like mobile versions or anything else like that as well?
Yeah, so in separating the two games, basically the first iteration of Hunters is going to be on browser, and then we're looking at mobile after that. And then for Wildlands, it's going to be Steam, And then from there, I can only speculate where we'll find the most support, but it'll be following the best support that we're getting, whether it's from, the Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft on console ports. But I really fully expect if people love the game as much as I hope that they will, and we have these opportunities, that you would be able to play it on Steam, on mobile, on consoles, on the Steam Deck. People have already been playing the alpha demo on the Steam Deck, and that works really well. And then with Hunters, it would be that. Hunters is an interesting one because that also depends on the rules of the different places. Like, we're not having it on Steam because of Steam's rules surrounding blockchain integration. And because we have blockchain optional in Hunters, then we're going to keep that off of Steam until they would change their mind. So outside of that, our goal is to give as many people an opportunity to play it wherever and however they want.
That's just incredible that you basically trying to please everybody out there, and you're basically listening like in depth with everybody, and especially like when in this day nowadays, like literally like a lot of developers don't look at that much, and they need to, because I mean, if it wasn't for the community like feedback, you would not get like a successful game. I mean, you need that as a thing to actually look up to. Like, hey, you guys didn't do this right. Instantly go back, fix it, be like, hey, it's fixed. And that's what pleases them. But I always say, you can't please everybody, because I mean, some things you can fix, some things require patches. It's a lot of work, and some people need to understand that some patches take days, take months to fix. I mean, you can't just fix everything with one finger and then be done with it.
Yeah, and it's an interesting one, right? Because I absolutely love the community feedback that we've been getting. And I mean, I wouldn't be here if we didn't have someone in the community who loved our game, who mentioned it to you guys, so you guys could find us. So like, how cool is that? Because what we have is we have people who resonate with what we're doing, and then they see that we actually care about what we're doing, and we're not just saying, hey, we're releasing it, buy it because you'll like it however we sell it to you. It's, hey, we're building this game, this is the experience that we're trying to make, try it out and tell us where we're doing it right, and tell us where we can improve. Now, I've had other feedback that's basically been, after I tabulate all of the different pieces that they've listed for me to change in the game, like, it just seems like you want a different game, and that's okay too. But we're not going to change the core of our game. It still needs to be consistent with that vision, and it's figuring out the best way to balance a consistent vision for what we want the experience to be, and community feedback on how we can best achieve that.
All right, so we got a question here from Thanatos. She says, could we get a MS-DOS version for us retro gamers?
Yeah, why not? I don't see why not. I see no limitation there.
All right. So over here, like, I'm just letting everybody know, like, that we're actually broadcasting live on Twitch, YouTube, and Kick. And so far, it seems that the broadcast has been going really smoothly. Like, there's been no issues. So shout outs to people that have been watching us in all the platforms that we have now. And we want to shout out you personally for taking the time. I know you've been busy. From what Fenora developer said on the social media, they said, like, you've been running all over the place now.
Yeah, it's been busy. There's a lot on the go, and we've ramped up development as we're leading towards our beta launch of Hunters. And so definitely there's been a lot on the go, and we've been putting out a lot of info on our Twitter X account, which is at Fenoraverse. And so that's been, I think anyone who's been following that, they've seen that we're definitely ramping things up. So we're excited for what the coming weeks and months hold for us and everyone who's like to play the game.
This is going to be exciting times, definitely, for this indie game developing company, guys. I mean, you definitely have to give them praise for the hard work they always do. I mean, everybody in general, like, and not just like, indie game developers, but AAA games as well. I mean, They put their heart and soul into all these games, and they literally work overtime so many times. I mean, like you mentioned earlier with Rockstar Games, they've been developing GTA 6 forever, and people complaining like, "Oh, release the game." I'm like, dude, would you rather release an incomplete game or a game that's basically gonna be the best for decades? That's the main reason. I'm not trying to show praise for Rockstar, but it's just like they know they know marketing ideas. They know how to like bring games to life, and they're like, hey, this is what we had. This is what we worked on for so many years. This is what you wanted. You wanted all this. Boom, there you go. That's everything there. So I praise companies that take their time making games instead of the companies that have to release a game every day because the publisher. I personally like games that take time. Like, so that's why when you mentioned that your game is gonna take it's not fully developed yet, like the one that's coming out. I'm like, dude, you guys should take your time, have fun with it, develop it, and once it actually releases, everyone's gonna be super happy because you made the perfect game.
Yeah, and it's a creative passion too, right? It's different than just shipping code. It's different than, just being like, oh yeah, we have this project, we have this task, and this task was accomplished. There's this creative element to it. There's the storytelling element. There's the engagement of, if someone's playing the game, what do we want them to feel? What do we want them to experience? How do we want them to enjoy this? And that's not a science, right? That's an art, and with our games, they'll click for a group of people who's been really vocal about how much they enjoy it, and there are going to be other people where it's not the right fit, and that's fine too, because as you said, you can't make everyone happy, and especially with such a creative expression as game development is, which I just see it as another extension of engaging storytelling and just engaging entertainment. It's finding, okay, what is the best for this specific vision in this time with this group that we have.
That's incredible. I mean, I'm just beyond speechless. I can't wait to play this game. Do you guys have a release date for the game, or is still TBA?
That is still to be announced. But for anyone who is interested, then you can definitely head on over to Steam. There is the alpha demo there that you can play. You can try it out. Make sure that you read the tutorials, because I've noticed some people who are like, oh, there's not that much to do. And then you're like, well, you didn't read the tutorials that tell you how to do the things. And so, make sure that if you're trying it out, then hopefully you enjoy it. And whether you enjoy it or not, still connect with us and let us know what you like and what you don't, and wishlist it on Steam. And if you do like it, well, I guess I shouldn't say just if you like it, but leave a review for the demo on Steam too, because the more of those we get, the more visibility it has. And the more people who can find out about it, the easier it'll be for us to continue to push forward.
And if you don't mind me asking, what is a 2TG based off? Like, is it like, how they have like Treyarch is based off USA, and 2TG is like based off what country? Like Canada?
Oh, Fenora. So 2TG is the company name, but Fenora is the kingdom that these take place in. And interestingly, I came up with the name because I was at a wedding in a small town in Ireland called Kilfenora. And I thought that just had such a really cool mystical sound to it. And so we took that part of it, and it became the Kingdom of Fenora.
Gotcha. Okay, so Nightmare, one more question before we get to our silly questions.
Yes, I have one more question. Is there a plan for a third part of the game as of right now?
Can you expand on like the third part of the game in what sense?
Well, you have the two parts right now. Is there another part of the game for the Fenoraverse that you're looking at building later on down the road?
So the battle for Fenora, that experience that would be more a larger scale, epic marrying kind of a Warcraft Command and Conquer style real-time strategy with Final Fantasy Tactics character building and this turn-based battle system that we've built in Wildlands, that is definitely still part of the plan, and that would continue the story that we're building in Wildlands of Fenora, but about a decade later. And style-wise, though, that's going to go from the pixel art that we have here into a really cool stylized 3D type approach that I look forward to really diving in when we have the resources and time to focus on it. But definitely we see the story of around Fenora continuing to expand. And even beyond that. So our mascot character is this cute red panda wearing a cloak named Moochkin, and he's a multi-dimension traveling little inventor who's cute and chaotic. And so a lot of what we'll be building is with him at the center of it, how these dimensions can interconnect. And a lot of that setting right now is taking place in this medieval fantasy world of Fenora.
Man, so he's basically going to be almost like a time traveler.
Totally. Yeah, 100%.
Dude, so we're going to see maybe a lot of alterations of the Fenora-verse. I mean, we might see, like you said, medieval right now, but we might see like a future world, like in the futuristic city or something.
Absolutely. And it gives us a lot of really cool opportunities as well in terms of how we can do different collabs with other games and other entertainment properties too. So we've had a number of really cool and exciting conversations with different companies around those types of things. And so we'll be looking to maximize that to basically use what we can so that we can get as many eyes on Fenora as possible.
All right. So, Nightmare, we have one more community question, and then we get into our funny, silly questions that we get in the podcast.
Yes. Lucky Gumby asks, so any comments on the game we just put in the comments of the Steam page, or is there a specific spot?
Yes, the discussion board and the Steam page has kind of become an ad hoc place for people to leave comments and things like that. So absolutely, that would be a great place to put it, and I think I've read and have responded to each and every one that's been posted there, and I will continue to do that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting to the funny part of the podcast. I know this has been a great podcast. We appreciate all you questions over here because we love when you guys give us questions to ask our guests here. It's always a fun time. So I hope you're ready for these, Nathan, because these are out of the blue. They don't make sense whatsoever. It's just to break the ice.
Perfect. I'm ready.
So last time, I believe my co-host started, so I believe I'll start this time. So I'm going to ask, would you rather have the ability to breathe underwater or have the abilities of a cat?
Well, I can't go with cat just because of my own relationship with cats in the past. So I'd have to breathe underwater. Now, the bigger question is, if you can breathe underwater, do you also deal with the pressure of going deeper, or is that still a limiting factor?
No, there's no limit factor. You can breathe underwater as long as you're underwater. There's no limit.
Oh man, yeah. Then that's something.
So definitely breathe underwater then.
Yeah.
All right, Nightmare, what you got?
Okay, so for off-roading vehicles, would you prefer Jeep or a truck?
Oh, a truck. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Let me ask you this. What sort of terrain would you thrive best in? The beach, mountains, or the desert?
Oh, I would thrive in the beach. Definitely. I think the desert, I don't know how many people thrive in the desert, but the idea, especially at this stage of the game development cycle, the idea of thriving on a beach sounds pretty good right now.
Beach is always nice. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but our podcast logo is him. He's a wolf, so he's probably more about forest and mountain and stuff. I'm a shark. So basically, I love the water. So,
There you go.
all
There
right.
you go.
So what you got, Nightmare?
Okay, so next question I have: What would what would you prefer for drinks, Pepsi or Coke products?
I mean, so Coke. Well, here's the thing. I would always say Coke on Coke, like just on a cola drink. But if you're talking about Pepsi or Coke products, like Dr. Pepper is a Pepsi product, but man, and the way that you're looking at me tells me that I need to choose one, and I'm not choosing one. And so
Actually, what's funny about that is Dr. Pepper's neither Pepsi or Coke. They both make the bottles, but Dr. Pepper is its own brand.
Really, I did not.
So
know
then, Dr. Pepper.
that's when you say that's when you say instead of Coke or Pepsi, you just say other Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper. That's it.
Yeah. All right. So
There we go.
here's another one. If the universe is just a simulation, what update or patch does it need?
Oh, wow. If the universe is just a simulation, oh, there's so many different angles you could go on this.
Dude, I told
You
you
could
these
go-
questions were weird.
Well, but this one can go existential. This one can go geopolitical. This one can go like just, but in the nature of the questions being silly questions, I think what you need to have is you need to just add on some element of like actual superpowers to human genetics, but then you have shows like The Boys where you're like, is that a good idea though? No, I don't think so. So I think where we're going to land with this is having every 10th person have some form of horn.
Got you. All right, Nightmare, what you got?
Okay, so you have to pick one console: Nintendo, Xbox, or PlayStation.
I am now a PlayStation guy.
Yes! Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that needs to be clipped. That really does need to be clipped.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Yes.
The shift happened around, like, it was Super Nintendo and 64, and then PlayStation, I dabbled, but at PS2 onward, I've been a PlayStation guy.
Sony for the win. Let's go. All right. If your life had background music that only you could hear, what genre would it be and why?
So if my life had background music, or like I'm choosing it from my own. Oh, it's going to be Bond. It doesn't matter. You don't even need to answer that. It's going to be some element of Bond themes, just because then I can dream.
Interesting. So like you mean James Bond?
I mean James Bond. Yeah. So like we're having this conversation, and then just in the background, and then I'm like, okay, I'm ready for anything. Right at that point, it doesn't matter what's going to come. I'm like, okay, I can deal with it.
All right. So my co-host has one last question, and then I'm gonna ask you this
Two last
question.
questions.
Oh, you got two more questions? Okay, so he's gonna ask
Two more
two more questions, and then I'm gonna get to my final question that has to do with really thinking, and I want your honest opinion with this.
Okay.
Okay, so the first question: what is more terrifying? Tigers with the ability to breathe underwater, or sharks with the ability to constantly fly through the air?
Sharks with the ability to constantly fly through the air. I feel like sharks. I know that we've talked about sharks being your animal, right? But I just don't trust them. And if they're flying through the air, I don't know if you guys have seen Sharknado, But I haven't. But I can imagine that's a bad time. So yeah, I think let the tigers swim.
Okay, before you ask your other question, Nightmare, I do have a silly WTF question for the community from Killing You. He says, who would win in a fight? Sword with a gun or gun with a sword?
Sword with a gun or gun with a sword. Well, that just depends on how I frame what sword with a gun looks like and gun with a sword. I'm gonna say that sword with a gun has like a gun on the tip of it, and then you need to like shift it to actually shoot it, and that's not working very well. Now, gun with a sword is like a bayonet, and I've got to go gun with a sword.
All right, Nightmare, your final question before my final question.
Okay. So you come to a fork in the woods. On one path, both paths lead you to the same place, but one path there's a giant bear-sized goose, and on the other path is 100 goose-sized bears. Which one are you picking?
I'm sorry, I have to
Um, well, the size difference between a bear-sized goose and 100 goose-sized bears, bear-sized goose, not 100. I'm going the bear-sized goose.
You can choke the bird.
Yeah, I'm going after the bird, not those like bears with their little claws that are gonna. Yeah, I don't trust that. I'm going the goose.
All right, so here comes the final question, and this question always gets my co-host here,
Okay, hold on. Before we ask this, I did find one that agreed with you, and I promised you if ever anybody agreed with you, I would eat one of these things. We're going to go ahead and give you one while you ask the question.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Nathan. Do you eat cereal in the morning for breakfast?
Like ever?
Like ever? Like
Or
like the
yeah,
whole life? You eat cereal before,
yeah,
right?
sure, yeah.
Okay, do you pour the cereal first and then the milk, or the milk first and then the cereal?
I'm not a psycho, so I pour the cereal first and then the milk.
Okay, well, I'm just letting you know that you're talking to somebody that pours the milk first and then the cereal.
Yeah. Now, do we want to talk about what trauma you've had in the past that has led you to that? I don't know how much time we have to unpack that, but I think it's worthwhile.
We gotta clip that too, Night. We just love hearing this reaction from all our guests as the final question. We love this. Like, this is hilarious to hear. Because, my goodness, just hearing that reaction, some of them say psychopaths. What's the other things they say, Nightmare? Like some
Psychopath, sociopath, monster. Are you even human?
But
Yeah.
oh my goodness, it's just fantastic. But anyways, it's been a fun ride today, Nathan. Thank you so much for taking the time. I hope you enjoyed being part of this. And once again, let us know, a little one final thing about Fenora, and then let us know if you have anybody that you want to give a shout out to that's watching this, or they're watching the VOD somewhere when it actually gets posted.
Yeah, absolutely. So shout out to the team at 2TG. All of our game devs and people are working super hard to get this done. So we couldn't make it without them. Shout out to Frozenbox for actually recommending us, because this was a lot of fun. So appreciate being on here. So thanks to you guys as well. And for anyone who's interested in what we're building, definitely check out the Wildlands of Fenora. That's Faenora on Steam. If you're on YouTube, there's the link there below. And make sure to follow us on Twitter, and I won't ever call it X, on @Fenoraverse. And that's where we're giving all the updates on everything that's going on as we're leading up to the launch of our game.
All right, guys. So we're actually gonna be posting our credits here, so we can show you who our next would be in our next podcast segment. I want to thank everybody that has tuned in on all the platforms that we have it on. Stay tuned, because after the credits roll, which is 45 to 49 seconds long, there's gonna be a teaser for something that is actually happening on the Reef. So stay tuned for that. And thank you again, Nathan. Hope you have a good night, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks a lot.